Hello and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. Now, I really debated about the topic of this week's video, and I know it's been quite a few videos since we've done anything fashion related, and honestly that's been, I'm very flattered. I've been approached by a few of my friends to actually do a presentation to talk about some of the concepts that I talk here on the channel about, ways to be more eco-friendly with fashion. And with it being almost springtime, I know I kind of owe you a video like that. I can assure you in my daily life, I apply all of my rules, try to, buy secondhand, buy organic, natural fabrics, wear it 30 times, avoid duplicates, all of the rules that we follow. So I do that in my daily life, and believe it or not, I feel like when I dress up for work, even though I don't always go into the office, I always dress as if I would go into the office, and I feel like my daily outfits are always really nice. They're all pieced together and very stylish. So I assure you that I have been adhering to all of my rules, even though I haven't been posting it as much. And maybe next video will be a spring eco fashion video. We'll go ahead and do that. I also I've noticed that a lot of the other channels that I follow have been putting out fashion videos. So I don't want to I want to give everybody I have a beloved 8 followers, so I'm not like in competition with anyone. I'm not saying that. I just want everyone to get a chance to really soak in all of the opinions, and I've seen some really great videos. There's other channels that are really talking about what's on the forefront. And of course, there's always ways to do it sustainably with thrifting or other ways that you can do it without being so hard on the planet. But today I wanted to go ahead and talk about a subject that I'd been meaning to talk about. Last year I took a environmental course from my local community college, and I learned so much. One of the things that we talked about early on in that course is trophic levels. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, what a trophic level is it's almost kind of like a little pyramid. So just like humans, we, as we should know, is that human beings are a part of nature. We're not apart from nature. We are a part of the of the food web, right? And that's what a trophic level is. Trophic levels talk about what level of food you consume. And it also, when you think about it, that consumption can also be with fabrics and other things. But today we're going to focus more on trophic levels in a food kind of way. And so basically what a trophic level is it's almost like a pyramid. And primary consumers, or primary producers. So the bottom of the, you kind of think of it like a pyramid. It's like a food pyramid. And the very bottom level is the base level of where our food is created. And the base level of where all food is created are plants, right? Because when you think about it, other animals eat plants, and then, if you consume other animals. So that's what the trophic pyramid is. It shows, there's several levels where, the very base level is plants, and, we just talked about trees 2 weeks ago. But plants are the bottom base level. And it does kind of go in a circle, but the base level is plants, and of course plants take energy from the sun and turn into like lettuce and carrots and potatoes and all the things that you eat that's what a producer does. A producer is the base plant-based level of how things are created using photosynthesis. Now, primary consumers would be the animals that eat the plants, right? So rabbits eat grass, deer eat, grass, cows, which, becomes, meat and steak. they eat grass and they eat vegetables, and so that's primary consumption. Then secondary consumers are the animals, or the consumers that eat the animals who eat the plants. So typically that is, a human can be a secondary consumer. And then there's a third level that's a tertiary consumer. And a tertiary consumer would be the predator, or, and sometimes they refer to it as an apex predator, but the predator who eats the animal who eats the other animal who eats the plants. Now, the final kind of stage, and this is where it goes full circle, is, when an animal dies, or, when a human dies, when your body decomposes and goes back into the earth, you're broken back down into carbon and oxygen, and then the nutrients from your decomposition is consumed by fungus and decomposers, worms, and so decomposers actually break down physical matter and turn it back into the nutrients that is given to plants to start the cycle all over again. So it was really fascinating to learn this, because of course I'd had some basic knowledge of it, but to actually put scientific terms to it, it is called a trophic level. And the reason that it's always important to know, and when you're starting your environmental journey, is because there's two reasons why knowing your trophic levels are important. The first reason that it's good to know is because each time, each level gives you a little bit less energy, and it's kind of interesting. It's like it's almost like a decrescendo. Every single time you, like for instance, when you eat a meal, the energy that you get from that meal, 90% of what you eat is given off as energy, as heat. Right? And I'll post a few videos down below where you can kind of make a little bit more sense out of it. But basically, every single time, that's why when you eat food, you have to eat several meals a day, is because, when, your body uses that food as fuel, and but it releases energy when it breaks down that fuel. And believe it or not, it's kind of like, it's really almost like you only get 10% of energy at every level. So you always emit about 90% of energy as heat or exertion anytime you consume something. So it's really like you're getting 1/10 of the energy from everything. So that's kind of like the decrease. That's how you use the fuel of the food that you eat on a trophic scale. Now, another reason that's a little bit more of the inverse, the opposite of exuding, 1/10, 1/10, 1/10, is something called biomagnification. And biomagnification happens where you are on your trophic level. If you're a tertiary consumer, when you look at a food scale, what happens is, it kind of starts as phytoplankton at the bottom. Let's take fish, for example. Let's take salmon, for example. You've probably heard a lot about mercury being in salmon or being in tuna, and, concerns about that. And the reason that there's concerns about that is magnification can occur because if the smallest consumer, ingests mercury. So if a small fish, eats phytoplankton that has mercury contained in it, and then a bigger fish eats the small fish, and then a salmon eats the medium-sized fish, and then you, the human, eat the salmon, the mercury is compounding in each one of those animals, in each one of those lower levels. It's like instead of it being 1/10 of the energy used, it's almost like it's magnifying tenfold. The first consumer had 10 milligrams of the mercury. Then it jumps with the second consumer. It goes 10 by 10 and becomes 100 milligrams, and then it becomes 1,000, and then it becomes 10,000. And that can happen with any toxin. any toxin, not just mercury. And, you know, with pollution and other things, there's a lot of runoff that goes into waterways that makes this a concern for a lot of different things. So that's what they call biomagnification. That means when something that's not good for you is consumed, goes through the trophic levels, and then you at the highest level of that trophic level consume that smaller thing, that toxin is going to be at a higher degree by the time it gets to you on your trophic level. The same can go for DDT. You've probably heard, the song, you pay paradise and put up a parking lot. There's a line in that song that says, you know, farmer, farmer, put away your DDT. And that's a reference to the book by Rachel Carson, Silent Spring. DDT was insecticide that was used because it was thought to not have any harm. It was used to spray streets and primarily for military purposes to repel insects, which was helpful in the fact that mosquitoes and other things carry a lot of really detrimental diseases. So to find an insecticide that was not harmful to humans, so to speak. But what happened was the DDT got used so much because, and it's a synthetic, version of insecticide, that all of the runoff, all of the excess got washed into waterways, into oceans. And believe it or not, DDT went through the trophic levels. It was ingested by small fish, and then the bigger fish eat small fish, and then, trout eat the big fish. And then what was happening was birds were starting to die from the ingestion of the toxin. But one other side effect, and this is actually if you live in the United States, remember how the bald eagle became a endangered species, and that is our the emblem of our country. But the reason why was not so much from the eagles themselves dying, is that the DDT in the fish from the runoff into the oceans was actually making the eagles. It was affecting the eggshells. It was making it was affecting the calcium, where the eggshells of the baby eagles was not very strong, and the eggshells were breaking before the baby eagles could be born, and it was literally making the eagle die out. It was terminating their genus, and it was all because of the toxin that was in them when they were having their offspring. So and this is not to be gloom and doom, it's, but trophic levels are very important for this, especially when you talk about pollutants and other things. But more importantly, and the goal of my video today was to be more like thinking about where you are in the trophic level. A lot of vegetarians prefer to not eat meat at all, or well, they don't eat meat at all. And then there are some, there's some levels where, some prefer to avoid meat completely, but they might, some people still eat fish. I forget what the term for it, there's a word for it, and it's slipping my mind. I apologize. I'll put it up on the screen. But this is just something that ever since I took the class last year, I started to think about it. I was out to lunch with a friend yesterday, and I had an omelet, and I was thinking, okay, I'm eating, I'm eating eggs. I've got a Swiss and spinach omelet here. What's my trophic level, right? What's my trophic level? And had a little side of avocado. So I think I was pretty much on I was on a secondary trophic level there. I wasn't quite tertiary yet. and again, that does keep you a little healthier when you keep it on a primary consumer level, when you eat a lot more good fruits and vegetables. I mean, the non-GMO ones, and we'll talk about GMOs in another video. But if it is organic, lettuce and natural things, it's very, very good for you. Secondary levels is not so bad, but again, just like we talked about biomagnification, and you can watch the videos down below. you know, for your overall health, when you think about, you know, okay, what level, and the health, you know, of the practices of, you know, that primary level, you know, like how are chickens treated, you know, and their eggs, you know, and are, you know, are avocados organic, you know, Swiss cheese, how's that created, spinach, you know, is that, you know, created, is that grown without any pesticides? So knowing your trophic level is really helpful, and it's just something to think about. And again, you know, the goal of this channel is to kind of get us to think about our habits, and that's one of the beginning ways that you can be very environmental, is just knowing where we are in the food tree. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like the content here, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. I have gone from 3 subscribers to 8, and I always start off small. I've you know, and I really value your subscribership, and I'm so glad, even if you don't subscribe, if you just check out my channel, thank you for being here. But again, we're going to keep this video short. Next video, we'll jump into some fun stuff. We'll get back into some eco fashion trends, and then we do, as of course, we're only 3 videos away from Earth Day. We've got some new content coming, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But I thank you again for joining me. I hope that you have a good week, and I'll see you later. Bye.